Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. This is it, the third dev server. I think we have made some history in War Thunder. I don't think there has ever been 3 dev servers for one patch. 1, 2, but not 3. I've never seen a patch where it needed 3 dev servers. 2 at most, but never 3. Apparently what happened, because I didn't make it on to the second dev server because I was running some errands, and I was hoping to be home by 5 o'clock local time and play out as much of the dev server as I could, but unfortunately, by the time I got back, the dev server was closed because of high optimization issues. Like, there was severe performance problems. But alas, we are on the third dev server, and we're finally going to take out some American helicopters, the UH-1C and the AH-1G. Now, I don't really take out the AH-1G in this video, but I do, because I wanted to focus on the premium ones. But the AH-1G, oh my gosh, that thing's got crazy machine gun ammo. There is a bug, unfortunately. Hopefully they'll fix it when the patch drops, but in arcade mode for this helicopter, you cannot reload the MGs unless you land at a base. I don't know why, but all in all, it's crazy good with its MGs. It's slow, but once you upgrade it, hopefully it'd be much faster. And one thing I want to mention before we get into the gameplay video, I'm going to do this a little different, because for some reason the UI is bugged with the replay. It doesn't show. So I'm going to be doing it live. Yeah. And I'm focusing on arcade battles because for some reason, because in RB, it could use some more work. Let's just leave it at that. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, so welcome to Greece. I think this map is supposed to be in Greece, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. But anyway, here is the UH-1. Oh, my XM-30. Oh my goodness, this thing is so much fun to fly in arcade. Oh yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention, is that in RB for the helicopters, you only get one spawn. It's kind of like Air RB. And then of course there's, now granted they are AI, but nonetheless there are AI SPAA in RB. Yeah, so if you get too close to them, you're gonna get wrecked. But there was an occasion where I was flying the Mi-24, and I was able to get a couple of AI ones before they shot my teammate down. I don't know how I got out of there alive. But with RB, like I said, it's only one spawn, and the matches go super quick. Like one match when I did with the Huey, where I shot down those 2 other Mi-24s, that match only lasted 3.5 minutes. Yeah, you heard that right, 3.5 minutes. Now, granted, there was only 4 people on each team, but nonetheless, it was too slow for my liking. And then plus, if you get wrecked by AA or even another helicopter and you just go straight to the hangar, I don't know, for me that's not fun. Because with helicopters, you're much slower, and you're bulky and fat. Yeah, you're not going to have a great time if you only have one spawn. But in arcade, you have up to 3 spawns, and I think that's more than enough, especially when you have, considering the current lack of variety of helicopters. Now that is subject to change. We might get more in the future, because at the moment we only have 5 helicopters second. Let me double check. Yeah, 5 helicopters for each tree. And that's only non-premium. Now, if you add the premium, you have 6 per nation. So 10 non-premiums for all nations and 12, including 2 premiums, for all nations. So that's not really that big of a variety. But all in all, the helicopters are a ton of fun, especially in the arcade mode, because granted there are some times where you just go helicopter versus helicopter, but occasionally, like, I think the domination mode is the best of all the modes, because although I think it could be reworked a little, because I don't know, I feel like you should be able to hover over the zones rather than just have to touch down each time, because I wanted to beat this guy that was with me, but at the same time I didn't want to come crashing down. So I just land, and then I was like, I'm gonna try it. But I was just seconds too late. Maybe they could make it to where, like, the cap time is just increased. Just a little bit. Maybe, like, I don't know, 8 seconds instead of, like, 2 seconds. I don't know. It's just a thought. But nonetheless, I am very glad that they decided to add a dedicated helicopter versus helicopter mode, because I mentioned on the forum, I was like, so what I've observed with helicopters is that, and this is from Tank RB, the test from the first dev server, and I was like, you guys need to make a helicopter versus helicopter, or excuse me, a dedicated helicopter versus helicopter mode a priority, because them being as a support for Tank RB, because for one thing, they are just cannon fodder, or worm food, for player-controlled SPAA, aircraft. I mean, even I watched Mike Goes Boom's video about the helicopters. He was like his clickbait video where he like plays around with the train. But yeah, like even a Spitfire 24 could take out a helicopter easy. And in a custom battle of all things, I was actually taken out by a hurricane. Yeah, no pun intended, but literally a hurricane. Hurricane Mark 1C, I think that's the one with the 420 millimeters, because he was using 20 millimeters, and I was like, oh my gosh. And speaking of high caliber armament, these 30 mils on the Huey are a dream come true. I mean, in arcade, like if I had the choice between rockets, missiles, or guns, these are the guns I want to use, because especially if another helicopter is going to try to engage me, I want to be able to fight back, because even guided missiles are kind of hit and miss, especially when it's in a fast-moving target compared to a ground unit like this T-54 here. But I don't know what the pen is on these 30 mils, but I can pen the engine decks, the roofs. It's awesome. And it doesn't seem that they overheat. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's working as intended, but they don't seem to overheat. At least when I was firing them. I don't know if I wasn't firing them for a long enough duration, but yeah. And then I didn't seem to run out of ammo either. It was like almost unlimited. Now I know it has 600 rounds per gun, but throughout the whole battle I never had to reload. It didn't even give me an indication that I need to reload. But, you know, as you know, the dev server is, well, the dev server. Bugs happen and weird stuff happens. It's like how I mentioned earlier with the UH-1 how after I engaged those 4 helicopters, I don't know how I survived that. That was ridiculous. But I wasn't able to reload the guns until I landed and rearmed. I don't know, maybe they'll fix that in the next patch. But all in all, this is my favorite. Now granted, this is the premium, but this is my favorite variation of the Huey. I mean, those 30 millimeters are just incredible. I mean, like, I took out 3 crew on that T-54. Now, I kind of wish they had it to where, like it is in RB, where if there's only 1 crew member left, the tank is destroyed. I think that should be the case for these tanks here, because otherwise, if you're just going to have a hard time destroying that tank, crew-wise, unless you, of course, set it on fire. And I don't know what the deal is with the zoom, And you saw it, you probably noticed it earlier when I was flying the UH-1 in that little mini movie I made at the start, or that cinematic intro, whatever you want to call it. Like, I tried to change, to like zoom in and it like totally glitched out my camera. It's a little wonky at the moment, so yeah, just another thing they need to fix. But all in all, I think that especially like the RB one could be reworked a little more. I think maybe they could do it like a spawn point system, or I don't know. And then of course, like, granted it was only the one map, Vietnam. Now, I don't know if that's a bug or what, but I really think they should also utilize some of the arcade maps, because the arcade maps are amazing. They are a ton of fun. I think this Greece at least I think it's Greece. The Greece map with domination is the best. It's large, you have canyons to protect you, there's plenty of targets to go after. It is a ton of fun. I highly recommend this version of the map. And ironically, I got the map again. I was playing... That was so weird, those two Hinds. Excuse me. I thought they were gonna ram each other. I was like, wait. And then I was like, wait a minute. How are they not dead? I was like, so weird. And ignore the chat for a bit. Because at some point, someone was like, you're a mod. And I was like, yes, I am. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. It doesn't show my mod tag on the dev server. So I was like, oops. Yeah, and then if I had to pick, I mean, I love both the Huey and the Hind, but if I want an excellent variety of weaponry, I would take out the Hind, because as good as the UH-1 is with its two miniguns and its rockets, it doesn't get ATGMs. Now, I think it's the F, let me look real quick. I have the client up real quick. Let me look. Yeah, the UH-1 the UH-1F gets its 20mm cannon, and oh my god, up to 8 tow missiles. Yeah, and that's a rank 6 variant, and it's after the UH-1 B and C. So you're not going to get that right away unless you spend a ton of gold, which I'm just going to stick with my UH-1 and UH-1 XM-30. And then, of course, for the Russians, you also have the Mi-4, which it kind of reminds me of a rescue helicopter. I don't know why. A rescue helicopter with guns. But I'm definitely happy with the helicopters in game. And then the Mi-24D, of course, has an excellent variety of weaponry. What was I going to say? There's something else. Oh, yes. And like I mentioned earlier, the RB version could be reworked a bit more, but I think the arcade version of helicopters is going to be a great success. My personal advice to you is don't go charge straight into the ground units. It depends on the map. You might want to flank a little, because you never know, and especially don't charge straight into the center of the battlefield. Like, try to focus on the edge of the map. Like, it depends on what map you're on. I haven't experienced all the maps. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few. Like, the only ones I've got was Greece, African Canyon, and oh my gosh, well, no, there's two versions of Greece. This is one version of Greece, and then there's the Greek sand map with, you know, the green vegetation. I'm just gonna call this one Desert Coast. But yeah, and then to go on to another subject, the recent War Thunder shooting range, or not shooting range, that War Thunder show, I don't know what you call it. It's just like a regular show made by War Thunder. And it was on the Stock Central. Do you remember that? I know you do. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And then watch Fly's, I guess you could call it a rant video. In my honest opinion, he wasn't ranting, at least not in my book. He wasn't using a lot of profanity like he usually does. Honestly, I think he was just giving feedback. And I certainly understand it, and he made a lot of excellent points. Now, just to give over a brief summary with that video, they were talking about overcoming the stock syndrome. Yeah, kind of a touchy subject. Now, I won't go into all the details, but it was mostly focused on aircraft, and I will be honest, getting upgrades for aircraft isn't that much of a big deal as with tanks, and I'll give you a brief reason why. When it comes to aircraft, if you find an enemy that has the advantage over you, to a certain degree, now this doesn't work with all aircraft, I will admit, but if it's in your capability, just plot your course away, side climb, and then go after them when you have the advantage. And if you don't, then go to the safety of your allies. If you can't, then my hands are tied. I can't give you any advice further than that. Now, obviously, one of the notable issues is like if someone is going after an enemy, give them a hand. Air quotes, a hand. I was like, oh, great. So you're encouraging us to steal kills. Kill steal. I was like, oh my goodness. I have to admit, that was kind of funny. And then, if you're critically damaged, get the heck out of there! Go to your airfield and, like, let the AA take care of the enemy. Well, someone usually has to be very daring, very smart, or really stupid to do that, because, I don't know, on some maps, the airfield AA is underpowered, and on others it's just ridiculously OP. I don't know, it just depends on the map. But the main hallmark of the controversy that a lot of people disliked about the video was that, or I actually forgot one more thing, excuse me, and then the issue with squads. Sometimes your friends are not always up to playing War Thunder, be it for like, maybe they have homework, maybe they have real work, like a job, or maybe they just don't have the same vehicles as you, or want to play a vehicle you don't want to play, or vice versa. I'm not going to go too deeply into that, but all in all, there's too many problems with squads. And then most of all, of course, the fairly obvious one is like, let's say you or your squad mates dies early on and they can't respawn, whatever. You're just stuck on the bench and just wait for the game to end. In the end, it's just more practical for you to just leave the battle, hop into another battle, and then move on. I don't know, it's more worth it to just go to another battle than just sit it out and wait for your current battle to end. I don't know, maybe one day they'll adjust that. But finally, I'll get into it. The thing that a lot of people disliked about was the age-old issue with fire extinguisher and repair kit for tanks. I will be honest, I've never been a fan of that concept, and hopefully they won't do the same for ships, because supposedly they're gonna make it to where like you need to grind parts and FPE for ships, and I'm like, PT boats I can understand, but for large, like 10,000 ton ships, at least I think it's the right tonnage for destroyers, I don't know. But all in all, that's just, for the ships I'm like, please don't, because they're big and they were built right out of the factory or the shipyard with fire extinguisher. I mean, why would you not build a ship without fire extinguishers? I don't know. But all in all, for tanks, like, and I watched Fly's video where he put 2P out, his transmission got wrecked, and he couldn't move because he couldn't repair. I think you should at least be able to repair mobility. If not the gun, at least allow you to repair stock so you can, you know, drive back to a capture point or whatever. And then there's other issues like with the repair kits and the fire extinguisher, and how a number of people say it should be given as stock. And I will admit, I would welcome that, personally. Like, the way I see it is, like, if you have a stock vehicle, you only have one fire extinguisher. And then you can get upgraded, get two, and, I don't know, maybe three. Maybe three. I don't know. And then, I think you should be able to replenish that in a capture point, too. And then if you don't have a default repair kit, you should be able to at least repair your engine and your transmission, so if you can't fight back, you should at least be able to drive back to a capture point and repair. And maybe give you a significant bonus, like SL and RP bonus, towards, you know, going back to a capture point alive and repairing. That way you get a risk, but you get the good reward too. So yeah. And then just to conclude on that subject a bit more, like the theory about how if War Thunder sees that players are leaving and then they add a bunch more stuff, I think what company wouldn't do that, regardless if your player base was shrinking or not? War Thunder has the edge when it comes to a variety of vehicles. I mean, what other game do you know, personally? And let me know in the comments below, because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't find one. That's free to play. That's massive multiplayer online, or MMO. Lets you play as planes, tanks, ships, and helicopters. All in one game. There just isn't. And then on top of that, you also have modern MBTs in the know-how. All in all, I think they just added them because they're like, hey, why not? Make the game more interesting. Not because shrinking numbers. But that's just my theory. You be the judge of that. Now, I'd like to go into this subject a bit more, but I'm out of time for this video. I might cover it a bit more in a future video, but if not, you get the idea, right? But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video so far. I am really super excited for helicopters now with the dedicated helicopter versus helicopter mode. And yeah, I really think they're going to be a great success. Now, of course, you will have to learn some new tactics because it's not like traditional aircraft, but all in all, I think we'll get the hang of it and it'll just be a blast. They'll especially be helpful in custom battles, and maybe they'll have some good use in regular tank RB. We'll see if any changes are made there. But anyway, until next time, have a great day. Peace out.